Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another exciting episode of Meet the. I'm Troy Rawlings, and today I actually, sometimes you say, "Oh, we have a friend." This is actually a friend. This is the first kind of only sister I trust for my daughter to spend the night at their house. Friend, that kind of our kids are best friends.
Right,
And
right.
speaking of children, she does phenomenal work. Been doing phenomenal work for years with some youth and foster youth around the Los Angeles area and around the globe. Looks like it's going to be taking off to the point where people all over will be able to tap in because we're in a virtual society now. Without further ado, the one and only, the founder of Kids in the Spotlight, Miss Tige Charity. What's going on, Tige?
Hey, hey, how are you, Troy?
I'm good. Good. You looking wonderful. You
Well,
look
thank
like
you,
you
sir.
bright, early, and ready, and just ready.
Hey, when you do what I do, you gotta rise early. You gotta rise early. Things to do.
I know you don't have a lot of time because you have an amazing, and I usually don't date these, but since 2020 is a different type of year, uh, today you'll be seeing this today, but today we got some phenomenal things to talk about for Kids in the Spotlight. But I want to go back. I kind of Tarantino. I jump around a little bit. So where are you originally from, Taj?
I am from a small town called Baker, Louisiana. So I usually tell people Baton Rouge because everybody knows Baton Rouge because that's the capital of Louisiana. But I am from a small town called
Say it like you say it again.
what, Baton Rouge?
Baton Rouge. See,
Baton Rouge.
I don't Rouge like.
Right, right. Yes, yes. I'm a Southern girl at heart.
So how far is Baker from Baton Rouge?
Well, it's only like 15 minutes. I mean, it's in East Baton Rouge County, so I'm in the county.
Oh,
So, yeah. So that's why I just say Baton Rouge, but it's a little small town called Baker.
and you,
I just learned about 2 weeks ago that CNN reporter I'm sorry, what's his name? Don Lemon is from Baker, Louisiana. I was like, what? Don is putting Baker on the
oh, you
map.
gotta, you gotta hit him up. I'm like, dude, I'm from Baker. Get him do a
Right?
nice interview on it. 'Cause Don be going in on people. It's like, look,
I don't.
this year, this year, Don. Every time you see Don, it's like,
That's all right. Don do that fact check. He like, we gonna check the facts. So you can't be
um,
mad at him for checking the facts.
no, no, Baker, Louisiana. Shout out to all my folks in Louisiana. My mom was in Louisiana before she passed this year, and my brother was living down there. That's where he met my sister-in-law, and got a lot of love for Louisiana. So how do you go from Louisiana to Los Angeles? What is the Well, I should say, what did you go to school for? When you went to college, what did you go to school for, and where did you go to school?
Okay, all right. Well, that's a little different. I actually went to Oral Roberts University in Tulsa, Oklahoma,
Oh,
and after I graduated from Oral Roberts University, I did go back home to Louisiana, and I worked for several years as a claims specialist at an insurance company. And then I was visiting my best friend who also went to Oral Roberts University sometime after we had graduated, years after we had graduated. I was visiting her in Connecticut. And so we decided to take a trip to New York. And that's where I met Mr. Charity. And all I can say is love make you do some strange things. Before you know it, I was packed and living on the East Coast with my best friend so that I could be closer to him. And shortly thereafter, we were engaged and married. And, he said it's time to move to LA. And I'm like, okay, let's go. So that's how I got to
Antonio
LA.
Antonio Charity, an accomplished actor, been around for years. So y'all met. What year did y'all meet?
Oh gosh, we met in 1997 or 98. It's one of those two. Yes. Yes. I think it was 98, 1998.
So you meet this aspiring young actor, fall in love, and he said, "We need to move to Beverly. Well, somewhere around Beverly, a little bit further, but maybe Burbank."
Burbank.
But
Yeah, yeah,
Los
yeah.
Angeles. And
Yes.
you're like, "Let's go."
Let's go. Well, when we were dating and when we were engaged, he said early on that California would be his, place that he wanted to reside to. He believed his career would take him to California at some point. So I knew that it was coming, but it came 3.5 years after we were married. So, when he said, now it's time, what else was I going to say? But okay. It wasn't
So,
like I didn't get the memo early on.
so New York versus Los Angeles. I kind of already know the answer. Which one you like better?
Oh my God. We didn't actually live in New York. Okay. We lived in Jersey.
Right.
So it's a little different. Um, it's a funny thing because I like both of them for different reasons. California, you can't beat the sunshine and the nice sunny weather. But there's something very unique about the East Coast and the people on the East Coast. And being a Southern girl, I am one of those people who just I love people. And here in LA, I
Yeah.
met some amazing people. Don't get me wrong. I mean, when I say some amazing people, some amazing people. But there are a lot of people you just like. Am I talking to the real you, or is this like the LA you? Like, help me figure out who I'm talking to right now. And
Right.
so having to have that kind of thought is,
It
it gets hard.
slows down the process. New York is you're walking on the street and you literally bumping into people.
Right.
New York is that pre all the stuff that's going on now, but New York was. I know. I always think I was like, man, I wouldn't mind. I like raising Zoe in this area, but if New York, I love the energy of it. It's like for people to stay up and try to get stuff done. There's no
Oh,
buzz like New York. There's
it's
nothing.
fast paced. It's definitely fast paced. And I love the way New Yorkers and that whole environment, how they champion around each other, especially in the middle of a crisis.
Yeah.
Sometimes the day-to-day hustle and bustle, people are too busy. And like I said, I'm a Southern girl. I'm on the subway, like, hi, hi. And,
Some,
very cordial. But
I moved
it's
to
like,
Louisiana when I was 18. I moved to Leesville, Nulano, right by Fort Polk. And when people were driving their cars by and beep beep, I was like, these folks don't know me. I just got beep beep. I'm thinking something's wrong. I'm looking at my clothes. I
right.
had never understood like everybody saying hello, which I love,
Yeah.
but
I
it is a different it's a different animal. And New Yorkers are very much like, we're New Yorkers.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a certain
Everybody.
pride. Some people call it arrogance. Some people just say it's the pride of where I'm from, being a
Right.
New Yorker. So it just all depends on who you're talking to.
Exactly. So you moved to Los Angeles. Um, Antonio's career, he's doing gigs, he's doing his thing. And you you weren't in the industry at all. You weren't doing anything in the industry.
No, when we moved to California, again, I was working in insurance. By the time we moved here, I was a litigations claims specialist, which simply means I was working for insurance company handling workers' comp and auto liability claims that were in litigation. So claims that were in litigation would come to my desk, and I was basically negotiating the value of, injured person's injuries. And
Right.
and I was kind of tired of it. I was just over it. I just wanted something different, something new. And so Antonio said, well, we go to California, it's the land of opportunities. You can figure out what you want to do. And I'm like, all right. But I kept my corporate job, but I started, I'd gotten into casting a little bit because I feel like, I was feeling at the time, well, if I'm casting and he's an actor, maybe I can get some gigs and bring him on. I'm just calculating how I can
Work that helped me. Look at that help me. Y'all see
yeah,
that?
that's
I
it.
just,
That's
I
it,
just helped my man. I just helped my man.
But you gotta know my husband. He like, girl, I don't need your help. My talent gonna make room for me.
I got this. You
But
see this resume?
right, exactly. But so I started working as an independent casting director while I was still doing my corporate job. So I got a little taste of the entertainment industry, and I had also auditioned for a few musical plays because I like to sing. So I'd done that. I got cast in a couple, and it actually got scary when I got cast in like 3 different plays. I was like, oh my gosh, like what is this? Because I'm not an actor at all, and I don't pretend to be. I act up, but I'm not an actor. So anyway, so I was like, oh my gosh. But unfortunately, both of those worlds, casting and doing plays, wasn't bringing in enough financial resources for me personally. So I just kind of let those things go and continue to work my corporate job. And one day, Antonio invited me to come with him to a group home because he was part of a theater group. And this theater group was doing an acting workshop at a group home, an all girls group home here. And so I accompanied him, and that experience just cracked my heart open because it was my first time seeing kids in foster care up close and personal. And that was the beginning of the change for me.
Wow. Wow. So you go to the group home at the event, and how did it transition to the next thing? I mean, how, because I love talking to people. I love interviewing people because everyone's story, and even me knowing you, there's so much you find out in this atmosphere. So how does it transition from you going to the group home, your heart is touched. You already went to ORU, so even though it's a great university, it's also mission minded. So did something click and say this is it immediately, or how did that happen?
Not at the time. So a couple things happened. I had a chance to tour the dorm rooms of where the girls live. And again, the experience just cracked my heart wide open. And it did at the moment compel me to want to do something to make a difference. But I didn't know what that difference was. And as we continued to sort of tour the facility, I noticed a group of girls misbehaving, acting out. And in my moment of judgment, I'm thinking, I was thinking at the time, why are these girls acting out? Company is present. And the
Right.
minute I thought that, right, I had another thought that said, these girls aren't acting out. These girls are asking for attention. They see you. And I was like, okay, what can I do to give back? So I asked the mentor, the director of the mentoring program, what did she think I could do? And she said, well, the girls always need good mentors. And I said, yes, but I'm coming from a place of sympathy. And I don't think sympathy is what they need. So I was like, let me just sit with it for a minute. Well, 2 years passed that I was sitting with it. I went back, to doing my regular job. I would think about the girls every now and then. But then 2008, 2009 hit, and we went through a recession. I don't know if you remember the 2009 recession, but
I
it was
moved
the
to
first.
2008.
Yeah, okay. So in 2008, the company that I was working for, I was working for a private company in their insurance department, and it was a small group. It was just three of us. I was the last person hired in that insurance group. And so in 2008, they started laying off. And I'm like, okay, am I going to be laid off? Well, I didn't get laid off the first round. And then in 2009, I think around the third round of layoffs, I was laid off. And it was the first time in my career that I had been involuntarily jobless. So I was like, okay, what am I going to do? I don't really want to get back in the rat race of looking for another job. I know I could find one because of my experience and background in insurance. And, insurance companies are everywhere. They're always looking for, claims people. So I was just like, what in the world am I going to do? Well, at the time, my church was doing a series called Discovering God's Dream for Your Life. So it was a whole message about purpose. And I sort of was feeling some kind of way about that, like I'm so sick of talking about purpose.
What way were you feeling?
Like I'm over this conversation about purpose. Rick Warren wrote the book, Purpose Driven Life. Yes, I read it. It ain't about
Yeah,
me.
yeah,
It was just,
yeah.
it was just that
Everybody, it was the
rebellious.
key, that flash word that everybody. I'm in my purpose. My purpose.
Exactly. And when you feel like you're doing a job that you really don't like, and it seems like that's the only thing that is currently providing, not, I wouldn't say providing a source of income because my husband was working, but providing income that I was satisfied with. Let's just put it that way. But it was only providing income. It wasn't providing any other type of satisfaction. And I felt like this was it. I'm in my 30s now, and what else am I going to do? I just don't really know. I just didn't know. I didn't have a desire really to do anything. I didn't know I had a desire to do anything. Let's put it that way. And so I finally decided to just, God, I need you to talk. I had what I call a temper tantrum with God. And I said, look, we're doing this series. I'm really not feeling it. I'm jobless, on unemployment, getting 475 a week. I don't even know what to do with four. How do I stretch 475 a week? Like all of these things just going through my mind. And I was crying and having this moment and just saying, God, I need you to talk. Like, if there is really this thing called purpose and you have something specific that you want me to do, I'm gonna need you to tell me because I'm tired. Like I'm at the wit's end. That's how I was, feeling. And after I finished having my what I call my temper tantrum, um, I believe God spoke. He reminded me of those girls that I had met a couple years prior. And he said, give them something you love. You love the arts. But I wasn't exposed to the arts really on a professional level until I met Antonio. Is when I first started going to Broadway productions and experiencing art. This small girl from Louisiana, I didn't know people were paid to be on television and, all these behind the scenes jobs.
Right.
Oblivious to all of that.
Right.
So, but when I was introduced to it, I fell in love with just the expression and the freedom to just be you and then also to take on characters. It's just everything about the arts was just sort of an awakening for me. And it was like, give those girls that. They wanted to be seen, create a platform for them to write, cast, and star in their own short films, telling their stories their way. I jumped up and I grabbed this journal because I'm really not a person who journals, but I have one because everybody got a journal. Okay, you're just supposed to have one. It's the thing you're supposed to have. So, so I grabbed my journal and I just started to write it down. Kids in the Spotlight, a platform for foster youth to tell their stories their way, a platform for them to be seen, heard, validated, celebrated, and and we're learning now, even employed. Um, and so when I wrote it down, I jumped up and I just felt a release. Like I just felt like it was just this like purpose had just dropped right in my heart. And I talked to Antonio about it the next day because thank God he wasn't home when I was snotting and crying all over the place because he would have been like, girl, what is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? But I got up and I just felt so free. And when I shared it with him and he was like, Tige, that's amazing. I was just, I I was like, okay, let's do this. And we've been operating for 11 years now. So that's the backstory in as short of a delivery as I can give it.
But I've never heard the entirety of that story. That's why I love having my own show because I get to do this. And I know the big networks are interviewing you, and I know you got Ty and everybody, but I get to sit down for a good amount of time. Okay, so you get started. You form it as a 501c3.
Yes.
And that process in and of itself. How was that process? Because there are a lot of people right now, even though it's like 2008 times whatever, 2009 times whatever, what we're going on now. But there's some amazing things that are happening right now. Some people are like stuck, and you don't realize when you're stuck, this is the time to sit down, talk to God.
Yes.
Write it down, make it plain, and you'll be surprised what this pen, this mind, and you talking comes up with. So you come forth and you start forming the 501c3. Now, did you know anything about nonprofits? Well, you went to ORU.
No, absolutely nothing. My degree is in accounting. I knew nothing about nonprofits. I knew there was a such thing as nonprofits. And
it just sound like you don't make no money.
So, well, that's what some people think. Exactly. It's just not for profit. What you're doing, you're not doing it for the purpose of making a profit. So that's basically what it means. I know people have a misconception that, not for profit means you don't have any money. But the reality is, at the time, I didn't know anything about nonprofit organizations, but I knew that this organization was something that I wanted the entertainment industry to invest in. I wanted to bridge these two worlds together, foster youth, social services, and the entertainment industry. And I wanted to give other people an opportunity to serve and to give back and to make a difference. So the first thing I did was I incorporated the business. I went to We the People. We the People is an organization of paralegals that provide legal services for a fraction of the cost that an attorney would provide for you. So
Right.
when I got the business incorporated, I asked them about, how do I file for a 501c3? So they told me that it's something that they did not do. They said you can either hire an attorney, which is going to cost you a lot of money, or you can attempt to fill out the 1023 form yourself. So I said, okay, well, what is it going to cost if I hire an attorney? They said, well, that's going to cost you probably about $2,000, and the form itself to submit it is $750. I'm like, I get $475 a week on unemployment. That ain't gonna work. So I gotta figure out another option. So I looked at the form and I was like, oh my gosh, this seems very overwhelming. Um, but I kept trying to look for services that I could use to help me, fill out the form. And a friend of mine who I attended church with, she has a nonprofit, and she said, Tige, I got something for you. And I said, what? She presented me with this book called the NOLO book, and it's how to start a nonprofit in California. And I decided to go to a friend's house to get outside of my environment, lock myself in a friend's house, and go through this book and just read it and fill out the form for myself. And that's exactly what I did, about 8 hours or so, completing this form, submitted it. I had my husband, of course, Antonio. I love him because he is like the perfect proofreader. I had him proofread it for me. After we finished, we mailed it in, and in about 4 weeks, we were approved, and we've been up and running ever since.
And it felt good to write it down to get the vision out of you. How good did it feel when first off you filled it out, and
Yes.
second you mailed it? How good did that feel?
Well, when I mailed it, I was nervous because, like I said, I'd been doing research trying to figure out, how to do it. And I've been hearing so many horror stories. First of all, it's 2009. This is the worst time ever to file for a nonprofit.
Mm.
And are you still there? Okay, this is the first time ever, I'm not the first time, I'm sorry. This is the worst time ever to try to open up a nonprofit. It's really hard to get approved. And if they start asking questions about your application, it's going to take even longer if something isn't completed correctly. So I started hearing all these horror stories, but I
Right.
decided, you know what? I'm just going to, God, be God. If it's your will, let it be done. And I just kind of, left it at that. So there was a sense of relief, but I was still fighting that other thing that I kept hearing.
Right.
It's hard to get approved. It takes a lot. This is the worst time to start a nonprofit. Again, those little things. But I mailed it. But it was when I got that letter back is when the shift really happened. When I opened that letter and it says you are approved as a 501c3 with a tax ID, man, I think I cut a step.
You screamed. I know Taji's loud for no reason. She has posts on. I don't even know what's going on. I said, ah! I'm like, what happened? What? I'm looking at the post, waiting for somebody who go, oh Lord, Jesus. Come over, it's a little girl. Like, he's like, who is that little girl? You look at it every time. Ah!
I'm expressive. I do not mind expressing my excitement. Okay. So I expressed it with a dance and a shout and a tear too. So I was just like, my high praise went up. Absolutely. I'm just like, to God be the glory.
So you get started, and I'm gonna say, I was gonna save it for later, but I'll say this. I'll just say this. All those posters you may see behind Taiji are actual movies that kids in the spotlight have done. How many posters you got up behind? Well, how many movies have you done?
We've 75 to date. 75. Yes.
75 movies in 11 years. And
Yes.
when did you start? Did you start in the first year, or when? How long did it take you before you actually did your first production?
We did our first production in 2009. Yes, the end of 2009. Yes, we got approved in August. The organization started with the incorporation in May of 2009, May 6, 2009. In August, we got our approval to be a 501c3. And I think in September, we were working with our first group of youth.
I love
Working
it.
with our first group of youth.
You
Yeah.
see you see some phenomenal things. I was blessed to be in, I don't know, one or two, one of the presentations.
Yes, that's right. I forgot about that. Seussville. Yes, I love it.
A bunch of accomplished actors and actresses had worked with Taji, and some you work with in programs that went on to go in the industry. How many kids have transitioned into the industry from?
Man, I mean, we've had a few. Again, when we started 11 years ago, our youth were younger. So we were working with youth that were 12, 13, and 14 years old. So we're now just seeing them walk into their own success. But there is at least five, maybe four or five off the top of my head that I know are doing great things in the industry. So we're excited about the work they're doing. One of our youth just did a spot for I think it's Feli. Yes, Feli, the shoe Feli. And he also did a branding of the BET stream. So when you see the BET stream logo, that was one of our youth.
Oh wow, wow.
So yes,
um,
yes.
so what is the process for those that, because there's some foster homes, there's some organizations, there are definitely a lot of we know in 2020 there are a lot more millionaires and billionaires now. So a lot of people are looking and saying, okay, what's the process? If I know this foster place or I want to get involved, what's the process that you do with the organizations to make the movies? How do you get into the foster homes or choose the foster homes? How do you go about that?
Well, we basically anybody who is interested that falling within that age range, we're willing to work with. So we partner with group homes, like some of your larger group homes that have a number of kids that live on site with them. Initially, we were just working with the group homes and a few of the LAUSD schools. And
Mm.
so inside the group home, we go and we do a presentation, we show some of the films, and we open it up for any youth who want to participate, but it's the group home that selects the youth. Because if you know Miss Tige, I'll have every last one of them. We don't, how many of y'all want to do this? Okay, let's make it happen.
Right.
But the group home selects, because when we're in session, the max that we can take seriously is 20 youth at a time during a 10-week session, because our program is 10 weeks long. And so, again, the group homes select the youth that are going to be in the program. Now, for our 18 to 22-year-olds, we started working with that age group about 2 years ago. And so for that one, they just basically fill out an application that says they're interested, and they show up on the first day. And we do those two programs for the past 2 years at Warner Brothers and at NBC Universal.
I love it. I love it. And who are some of the actors that over the years, who are some of the actors that came on and really became a part of kids? Like you saw their hearts and a lot of which some of these actors who actually came through foster care or their parents or somebody was involved with foster care and you didn't know.
Well, one of our ambassadors who was actually in one of the films, and that's how she fell in love with us, was Kelly Stewart. And I don't think she has a background with foster care in particular, but she just have a heart that went out for our youth. And so she was in, I think it was Heaven's Heart Pictures. It's one of the films that we're going to be showcasing tonight for the launching of our new channel. But Kelly, you'll meet her tonight for those who don't know, but the amazing Kelly Stewart. And then also we have our ambassador, Ty Burrell, and his connection is his father was a social worker. And so he knows sort of the experiences of kids in foster care just by the mere fact that his dad was a social worker. And so he's been, a teacher in some of the acting classes for us. He's traveled with the youth when we got invited to DC, to the White House, because one of the films got accepted in the White House Film Festival when President Obama was in office. And so it's just been amazing to see the industry embrace what we're doing and give back in such a meaningful way, because these people are busy, they're working, they're successful actors, and even our directors and producers like Katie McLean and John Lindstrom's and Alfonso Macaulay. I mean, just to name a few. These people have busy lives, but they set time aside to invest in our youth. And we're just grateful. We're grateful. Grateful.
I love it. So you kind of alluded to it, and I know you gotta you got a lot of press and everything coming up. So what's going on tonight? Well, first off, how has the pandemic affected the program this year?
Oh my gosh, we had to stop in the middle of 2 of our 10-week sessions. We were in the acting classes at Right Way Foundation when the pandemic hit, and we were in the second week of writing at Hillside Agency, which is a group home in Pasadena, when the pandemic hit. So we had to literally shut down our in-person sessions and try to figure out how we could stay connected with our youth, because it's one thing to be in foster care, it's something else to now be isolated from everyone else while you're in foster care. So we were like, how can we continue to reach our youth and stay engaged with our youth? So the first thing we did was we launched a virtual nationwide competition for foster youth throughout the country to submit a short script for a chance to win that film being produced by Kids in the Spotlight. Nice. And for those who were interested, we offered a 5-week virtual training class to prepare them, so they could either write independently or they can come to this training course and get the skills and the professional advice to help them write, these amazing stories that's on the inside of them. And some of them did, and some of them just submitted. But we solicited amazing industry judges like Malcolm Jamal Warner and of course Ty Burrell and just Ariel Winters. Like we just called our industry fans and said, look, we got some amazing scripts. Here are the top 10. Can we bring it down to the top 5 and then the top 3 and then the winner? And so that was one way we did pivot, and we were able to work with Keltex, which is of course, software, writing software that industry professionals use. And they presented the winner with a new laptop computer equipped with their software. Exactly. So some amazing things came out of that, but we haven't been able to shoot any films this year. So that's the thing that has really been what I consider a major setback. We did our summer program virtually. So we were still able to take our youth through the 5 weeks of writing and the 3 weeks of acting. We weren't able to do the casting part of the program, nor were we able to do the production part. So right now we have 5 films ready to shoot for next year once when, this COVID thing disappears, go away.
And so you actually do not only, I didn't know so you do writing courses as well as acting courses for the youth.
Oh, yes. Absolutely. Yes. They go through 5 weeks of
screenwriting. In production, because some of the youth are behind the cameras.
Absolutely. They are working also behind the scenes for those who are not, cast in a film, or those who don't, their thing is not acting. They are more production people. They work behind the scene and they shadow the industry professionals that partner with us to make these films. So, yeah.
So tell us more about what's going on today, the launch. Is this a streaming site? Is it live? What's the whole flow of what's coming up today?
I'm gonna try not to do my dance and shout and all of that right now, and tell you what's going on.
It's hard for her to say. She's like, I'm just trying. The Lord. He was like,
we have partnered with IndieFlix, which is a streaming service that produce content with a purpose. And so
Hmm.
we now have our own channel where all of our films will live and people will be able to see our films 24/7. And so tonight we're having a virtual launching party where we'll show just three of our films. We'll have you meet some of our youth, meet some of our ambassadors and the directors who work with us. Doing a QA session after the screening. And we'll meet the owner of Indie Flick, who is amazing, and just learn more about that platform and what this partnership is, what this partnership means, and how this partnership will impact our youth going forward. And as well as the organization, this partnership will help us continue to raise funds so that we can do more, we can reach more.
Amazing. And what time is that this evening for those that want to find a way to attend? Is it open to the public to attend
Yeah,
the?
absolutely. Come one, come all. It's
Okay.
at 6 o'clock, 6 o'clock PT and 9 o'clock Eastern time. So you RSVP and you will get the link and you can come and sit with us tonight as we watch a few of the films and talk about this new venture.
I love it. So, what's your? We know indie. This is obviously the immediate goal. This is now. But what's your short term? I say short term goal, 2 to 5 years, and then your long term, 10 to 20. What are your goals?
Well, 2 to 5 years, we hope to have a production studio for a cause, where we have our own studio space for our youth to shoot their content and to continue to make content even outside of the program, but
Right.
also a place where industry professionals can come and invest by shooting their projects on our site and hiring our youth to work with them. That's the short term goal, and then the long term goal is to create an academy, a vocational academy for our youth, so that we can really prepare them for college and careers in the industry and life in general.
Right.
The sad thing about youth in foster care is that they lack the stability. And I think what we bring is not only the stability, but that family structure. We bring the genuine love, because I'm very particular about the people we partner with. For us, your why has to be the youth. And if your why is anything other than our youth, we're just not the program for you. So
Right.
it's making sure that we have the right people in place to love on these youth and to make up for the time that they didn't have a steady relationship or a mentor in their lives. But to set them up for success, set them up. We all want to be validated, and we all don't have the same opportunities. So we want to present them with opportunities that otherwise they may not have been afforded. So
And I've had a chance to be involved with the program, and I see, I was that youth. If it wasn't for, thank God for my friends' family, my neighborhood. I didn't go into foster care, but I was 14. I was by myself. But it never felt like that because of all the things I had to do. So when you see these young people getting involved and they start working, they're still kids. They're still young people. They still got their quirks and nerds. But when it's like, all right, quiet on the set,
right.
you would think Jesus walked in the room. Hey, action. It's amazing what happens when you put young people in a position to succeed. So,
Absolutely.
well, Taji, I'm not gonna hold you because I can talk to you forever. We sit around and talk for hours, but I ain't gonna do that.
Right.
Some other stuff. But real talk, thank you for all you do. Thank you for including us creatives, the industry. You and your husband are doing amazing work continuously, and let people know how they can get in touch with you.
Thank you. Well, let me just say I enjoy this time. I always enjoy our conversations, because you just as crazy as you want to be. So when I need a good laugh, I know who to call. Um, but you can reach Kids in the Spotlight on all the social media platforms and also via our website, which is www.kidsinthespotlight.org, or the short address is www.kitsinc.org. And on Instagram, we are at Kids in the Spotlight. I'm sorry. On Instagram, we are at Kids in the Spotlight. On Facebook, we're at Kids in the Spotlight. On Twitter, we are Kids in Spotlight. Twitter have those limited characters, so we have to drop the THE. So we're Kids in Spotlight on Twitter, and also on LinkedIn, Kids in the Spotlight.
I love it. I love it. Tige Charity. And don't forget
Yeah.
tonight, 6 p.m., 9 p.m., all the information will be below in the Instagram and the short IG video and the YouTube. You can check her out, and we'll blast this out, and excited about everything that is to come.
Thank you.
Thanks
It's
so much.
been fun. Thank you, Troy. I tried to behave.
Don't behave. You. Don't behave. You. I'll talk to you in a bit.
All right.